world is Miss USA? And why in the world is this even an episode? I'm having a very nostalgic moment. This feels very Carmen Sandiego, and my 90s babies will understand that reference. Because where in the world is Miss USA? We need to talk about a lot, and I am sorry to be the bearer of bad news. This is just not great for anyone, what I'm about to discuss. So first of all, I just want to take a little peek. Let's review the current Miss USA Instagram account, and let's talk about what the recent posts have been. Here we have state pageant date announcements, finally, after the other episode that I had created. We have collaboration posts with state queens, which I don't hate. We have a very, I think, necessary Chesley post. I think that was really important between Miss USA and Miss Universe, so that was great. Now we have B-roll footage of Noelia clearly before she even won Miss USA. So I would assume that this footage was for her personal socials leading up to Miss USA, or potentially it could have been something that the organization was asking for, something that they could have used during the telecast. Now we have an appearance post from Miss Louisiana, and this is something I don't remember during my year as Miss Montana USA. I do not remember Miss USA hosting state title holder appearances. Why? Because state queens have their own social media. January 23rd, we have Noelia on the cover of Supermodels Unlimited. Next, we have old footage of Noelia at a photo shoot prior to winning Miss USA. This was in September. We have a throwback post to Reno Tahoe. Noelia is not even in this one. Now we have a compilation of Smile Train images. Some of them I know were from Miss Universe, and then the others were from an event in December. January 15th, we have the new staff announcement. Here's a photo shoot image of Noelia. We also have an announcement post that there will be announcements of state pageant dates. Here's Noelia backstage with Olivia Culpo at Miss Universe. Here's another repost on January 9th of a KTLA interview that occurred in October. Here's a picture with Anne in Mexico shortly after Miss Universe. We have a real recap of the year. Here's another clip of that same October interview. Here's a headshot. Then we have a photo at Kendra Scott's event in New York City for Smile Train. Here's a USA slideshow. Another picture of the same interview in October. Here's a photo from her Miss Universe send-off party. And finally, here is the original image from the Kendra Scott New York City event with Smile Train that was on December 13th, or at least this was posted on December 13th. Why is this all important? Because it's February. Miss USA has not made an appearance since about December 13th. She literally went an entire month without appearances. I've never heard of this happening. Before anybody comments about this, I want to say I don't believe this is Noelia's fault. She has shown so much initiative as a state title holder, and then also I would say post Miss USA preparing for Miss Universe. Clearly she puts in great effort, and this means a lot to her. She's competed for years for this opportunity. I don't believe this has to do with Noelia or a lack of interest. I think it has to do with the organization and a lack of appearances that they are facilitating for her. Let's keep that in mind. Let's support Noelia. Let's not flood her social media pages asking where she is at. Personally, from the outside looking in, yes, I'm not behind the scenes right now, but I don't feel like she's not making appearances because she doesn't want to. The other thing to consider is she's in the US. We have the Grammys, we have the Oscars, we have the Super Bowl coming up. And what's important about the Super Bowl is that the Hunt family owns the Kansas City Chiefs. Their daughter, Gracie Hunt, was Miss Kansas USA a few years ago. How hard would it be to reach out to the Hunts and say, hey, can Miss USA make an appearance at the Super Bowl? Now, I don't think that that's gonna be happening because I did see an announcement on High Tech Moda's page that Noelia will be there as a VIP guest for their New York Fashion Week. And New York Fashion Week also overlaps the Super Bowl. So I don't know about the whole scheduling conflict or the dates that would involve that or what it would take to get her there. I'm not sure if there's gonna be a Sherry Hill fashion show this season. Some designers skip it because it's cold and not a lot of people come. But even if there were, I haven't heard that Noelia is gonna be walking for Sherry Hill anytime soon. I know that Sherry is no longer a sponsor, but regardless of that, Noelia is stunning and Sherry does have a long history with the pageant. It's not far-fetched to reach out to her and ask her to walk for your show. The other super sad thing I saw on Instagram this week in a comment from Noelia is that she still does not have her Miss USA apartment, which is crazy to me. In the past, Miss USA would win. The next day, she was in New York City. She was doing her media week. She was moving into her apartment. The fact that this was a big part of her prize package and that she has been crowned for months and she has no title holder apartment is You choose the words for it, because the whole thing makes me so sad and so disappointed. I also feel like this whole moving Miss USA from New York to LA has affected a lot of title holders. I think Elle was the only one that really got that LA apartment. Now Arbany, she won, and after winning, because of all of the news around her win, she went back to Houston, Texas, and then she prepared for Miss Universe, and obviously she won Miss Universe, so there was no need for her, and no really time for her to move into a Miss USA apartment. So who even knows what happened with the apartment that year? Maybe there was none for Arbany as well. I don't know, because I didn't see Morgan moving into a Miss USA apartment once she was crowned as Miss USA after Arbany won Miss Universe. So I have no clue what is going on. The other thing I'll mention about Morgan, which is just really sad, you can hear more from her side. Go watch the interview that Nia Sanchez just posted on her YouTube channel with Morgan, because Morgan's going to explain to you that winning Miss USA was not what she had imagined, taking over that title, and that because of the timing of it, she was left with no director. She also didn't have a what you could say is a handler for the year, so she was a Miss USA that was alone, and she was taking the initiative. She was booking her appearances. The Miss Universe organization was very busy with Arbany and planning the next year of the pageant, the whole transition. There was so much going on. Morgan was just left in the dust, and that made me feel so bad. She said that most of what she did for her year of reign was paid for out of pocket, and I do have an episode about what I spent preparing for Miss USA, and there's so many little expenses you just don't think about. Unfortunately for Morgan, that meant that even if she did book an appearance, and even if they did pay for the flight and the hotel, she was covering everything else. So food, Ubers, maybe wardrobe. There were so many things that really add up that weren't covered. She said the Miss Universe organization reimbursed her one time, but then everything else was essentially out of pocket. Now, I will say this though, she did mention in the interview that she would do it again and that it was still worth it. That's exactly how I felt when I was Miss Montana USA, when a lot of stuff was coming out of pocket for me. There are still enough benefits to outweigh that monetary loss. Moving back to Noelia though, it just feels like she won Miss USA and got shelved. It is such a shame. It is such a waste of a precious year, and it makes me really sad. But the other thing is, Miss Teen USA seems to be making more appearances than Miss USA. I don't know why that is. I don't know if Miss Teen USA is allowed to book any of her own appearances, but typically Miss USA state title holders and a national title holder, we are under contract and we are not allowed to book our own appearances. And even if we seek out our own appearance, it has to be approved by our director. So I don't know what's happening, why Teen USA is getting appearances and then USA isn't. Even if Miss Teen USA is working on these appearances on her own, she is getting them approved. And I don't really think of Noelia as sitting there and not trying to take any initiative for anything else. That just seems really strange, considering all the media appearances and things that she was doing right after she won Miss Utah USA. Now for a little compare and contrast, I want you to take a look at Miss America's social media pages, because bravo, this is how it should be done. This is incredible. This is what Miss USA should have. This is what Miss USA used to have. I don't know how we could have dropped the ball. I'm happy for Miss America though. I'm happy for the organization. I'm happy for our new Miss America, Madison. I think it's amazing. I think she's so deserving. And this is just what I want to see for Miss USA. Miss America, Kelly Clarkson Show, CNN, ABC, The Today Show, Good Morning America, just appearance after appearance, and she's already doing other events and having other speaking engagements. She is working with Giovanni and the American Heart Association, the Go Red for Women campaign. She's already visiting schools and reading to children. It's just amazing. Oh, and she also got engaged. Congratulations, Madison. I just want to show this as a comparison because this is what should be happening for Miss USA. This is what used to happen. And it makes me sad because I feel like it takes away from the entire experience, and it makes contestants sit back and say, should I even enter Miss USA? Is it even worth it? Because honestly, what are you getting? What are you getting in exchange for everything that you put in? Last thing I have a little rant about is that I was talking to one of my clients. She's competing for a Miss USA state pageant, which is on June 30th, I believe. Either way, end of June. And she was told at a little meeting that she should be prepared and ready to have maybe only 2 weeks before the national competition. What? In the past, depending on your state, depending on your pageant date, some contestants had a year to prepare for Miss USA. Other contestants had 6 months. I feel like in the past, the closest cut, like the ladies that got crowned at the end of the state season, they still had 3 months to prepare. And I remember hearing about that and thinking, oh my goodness, like that's no time, like that's so difficult. If you look at what it takes to prepare for Miss USA, it really is no time, because if you go with an American designer like Sherry Hill, like Giovanni, for example, typically they're gonna tell you that a couture custom evening gown has a 3-month turnaround. The other complicated thing is that if we still have the state costume contest, that is a whole other obstacle for contestants, because in the US we're just not as used to preparing state costumes or national costumes like a lot of other countries do at this level. So a lot of the ladies are very lost when it comes to, how do I find a designer? How do I fund the designer? If you only have 2 weeks before you have to be at the national pageant, that is such a disservice to everyone involved for multiple reasons. That typically is going to mean there is no time for a contestant to get a custom couture evening gown. She can get a couture gown, but it will need to have already been made, and it'll just be altered to her. So that's limiting her options. Same goes for an interview outfit, unless a state director has already started to prepare options for a title holder. But the thing is, you just don't know who your winner is going to be. You don't know what's going to suit her. You don't know what's going to fit her. It's not a great strategy. What about, like I said, the state costumes? Who's going to make a state costume in 2 weeks that is going to be of great quality, that is ready for a telecast, that's ready to be broadcast? The beauty of winning months before your national competition is the extra prep that you get to put in. You get more sponsors, you get more support, you get more one-on-one time with the people that you need to grow, not only as a title holder, but as a person. And I felt like that was just something that was so huge for me as Miss Montana USA. Who cares if I didn't win Miss USA? I got to grow, I learned so much. I had time for these things because I had months. And now we're gonna take that away from title holders, and this is exactly what I felt like was gonna happen when I created my other episode about where in the world are our state pageant announcements. These were all of my concerns. The people that I'm thinking about are sponsors and contestants and directors, and the amount of undue stress. And then also, because you have a lack of planning with all of this, it will affect how these ladies look on a telecast. It is going to affect the quality of what they can bring to their performances and to their wardrobe and to their personal brand and all of their skills. I also feel like this is making things very unfair for the state queens who are coming from small states that don't have great support for pageants in their state. Title holders like Miss Montana USA, maybe Vermont, Delaware, all of these states where the community doesn't quite rally around them as much as, let's say, a Miss Texas, a Miss Florida, a Miss New York. These smaller states typically have a smaller budget and less resources in comparison to our big powerhouse type of pageant states in the US. So it's making all of this unfair. Now, I will say that one advantage would be to just have your own money. If you have your own money, if you come from money, if you have a great job, and if you can afford to really finance your Miss USA prep within 2 weeks, then you can overcome some obstacles. I will tell you, I do know of designers who will get a gown made for you within 1 week internationally and get it shipped over to the US. But guess what? You're gonna pay for that extra labor. You're gonna pay for those expedited shipping costs. It's gonna be really, really expensive. Can we overcome these challenges? Yes. But do we have the money to do so if you're from a smaller state or if you're not affluent? No. And that is what is so unfair about all of this. These ladies should have a fighting chance no matter what money is in their bank account, no matter what state that they're coming from. Allowing them to have months of preparation before that national pageant helps to make things a little bit more fair, a little bit more equal for these ladies. And I'm just so worked up right now. I'm so worked up. You know what? I'm gonna have to do some breathing exercises after this episode. I apologize, and I really don't know what to say about all of this other than I'm just sad about it. I'm disappointed. Yes, I know I'm not behind the scenes right now. I know a lot is going on behind the scenes, but I've also seen pageants where new leadership comes in and they're able to really put things together and keep things organized and give contestants a good amount of time to prepare for their national competitions. With the quality that Miss USA is known for, I don't see why Miss USA would be an exception to any of that, especially considered this is the second year now of this new leadership. I'm sorry to bring all of this to you, but I wanted everybody to be kept in the loop and everybody to be prepared, especially if you're getting ready for your state pageant and you haven't heard about any of these things. I'll keep you updated as I get more news whenever I get it. Let's be kind in the comment section, please. Let's be considerate of one another. Please be sure to subscribe so you stay up to date with all of these updates. I'll be back as soon as I can with anything else that I learn. But thanks for tuning into this one, and I hope to see you very soon.